Welcome to this short video on our latest analytics workbook, brought to you by the team at Maiden. Our analytics service helps IAPTIS users to unlock the information in your datasets and reveal valuable insights. In this video, we will walk you through how to use the clinical activity workbook. Updated nightly using your IAPTIS data, this workbook provides analysis of activity around the diary feature in IAPTIS. It looks at slot availability and appointments booked, along with other diary items such as personal events, clinical events and supervision. To access workbooks in IAPTIS, navigate to Reports and Analysis and then to the Dashboards tab. You will see a list of all the workbooks available to your service. If you do not see the Dashboards tab, please talk to your super user and ask them to make dashboards available to you. As with all workbooks, clinical activity opens with a welcome cover page to navigate through the different dashboards. In this case, we have 4 activity dashboards to explore, which we will go through in more detail. Above the title, there may on occasion be some orange text, which we use to highlight information to you. For instance, this is a beta workbook, or this workbook is missing certain data that we want to make you aware of, or highlighting that this is a workbook that's going to be removed at some point. Click on the blue arrows to navigate to the different dashboards, or using the tabs across the top. The status page provides a list of all the dashboards in the workbook and whether there are any issues with it. Rather than issues affecting the whole workbook, which will be highlighted on the cover, the status page holds the information that affects a particular dashboard within the workbook. This first dashboard gives a visual overview of the duration of activity entered into IAPTIS. You can select the number of days, weeks, months, quarters and years that you'd like to view up to a particular date and look at the data for all staff or particular care professionals. You will notice that the end date in the text box on this filter line may not match the date you have entered. This is because the data shown is for complete periods. So if you have chosen a date which is mid-period, the data will automatically be shown to the end of the previous period. So as we have weeks selected here, a week runs from Monday to Sunday, so the end of the previous period is the 12th. As I said, complete weeks run from Monday to Sunday, but complete months, quarters and years are calendar months, quarters and years. The types of data included in this analysis are shown in the legend at the bottom. We've got contact, group sessions, IET contacts, clinical events, personal events and supervision delivered. Should it be available, supervision received. Because we are wanting to look at the number of hours available and the number of hours used, we are showing a variation of either booked duration or clinical duration depending on the type of activity. The information button on the top right gives further information on this. So for slot information, we're looking at the booked duration. For attended contacts and IET contacts, we're looking at the clinical duration, but if they're not attended, then we're looking at the booked duration. This is because time was set aside to see that patient. Admin time for sessions is not included in these figures. The filter button allows you to filter your data further, and the I button will show you a summary of the filters that have been applied. So on the main body of the dashboard, the left bar shows the total number of hours for each of the activity types for the whole period selected. The middle charts show the number of hours by the time period selected, i.e. weeks in this case, and the activity type is shown as a percentage. The right chart shows the average hours for the time period selected. Please note that the contracted hours show the values for each care professional as they are stored in IAPTIS at the current time. There is no history of previous contracted hours in IAPTIS, and therefore we will not be able to identify when a care professional has increased or decreased their hours. The clinical activity dashboard shows a more granular analysis of the clinical hours. Please note that supervision received does not feature on this dashboard. As on the previous summary chart dashboard, you can filter what's shown on the clinical activity dashboard and choose whether to include or exclude clinical events depending on how your service uses this feature in IAPTIS. For the majority of services, clinical events are used to record anonymous group sessions, for example, running a workshop at a school or in a community where you do not know all the attendees and they are not necessarily on IAPTIS. In this case, you may want to include clinical events in your analysis. Other services use clinical events as a catch-all for admin tasks, annual leave, meetings, etc., in which case you may wish to exclude this type of activity. You can see the current contracted hours along the top, along with the weekly average. Unlike the previous dashboard, this weekly average does not change if you change a different time period. It always shows the weekly average. Then we have the slot availability broken down by the slot purpose. As you are able to assign multiple purposes to one slot, it may not be accurate to add up each of the figures in the column to get the total. Next, we have the clinical activity. The booked duration and the clinical duration are used to calculate the proportion attendance. Supervision delivered is not included in this section and is reported separately below. If you are looking at weekly data for a single care professional, as we are here, a percentage target activity achieved figure will be displayed at the bottom. This percentage is based on the clinical duration hours as a proportion of the target attended hours displayed above. This dashboard shows the data displayed as a timeline or Gantt chart. If the time period selected is weeks and a single care professional is being displayed, as we have here, and a single week is being viewed, as we have here, you will get a week's worth of data on the display. So we can see that on Monday, which is the 6th of November, our imaginary care professional, Daniel Cole, started the day at 9 o'clock with a slot which lasted 60 minutes. Some of the slots have a warning triangle against them. This warning triangle is saying that the slot was created in IAPTIS within 7 days of the slot taking place. You can alter the number of days using the box up here. We can see that there was an attended contact recorded in IAPTIS at the same time as this slot. These are marked in green underneath the slots. We can see at 3 o'clock there is a DNA or cancelled appointment, and again at 4:30. The length of the cancelled or DNA appointment has been taken as the booked duration rather than the clinical duration that would be taken if it had been an attended contact. This information is displayed in tabular form in the bottom half of the dashboard. In this particular week, we can see that there is a slightly different colour, and this is because there have been 2 events which are overlaid at the same time. We can see that there is a personal event, and this goes on until 4 o'clock, but we have also a slot which has been booked from 15:10, which lasts 60 minutes. This will also be shown in the table underneath. If we choose a future date, it is possible to look ahead and see what slots have activity already booked into them and which slots still have availability. Future activity is shown in blue on a separate row at the bottom of each day. They are also shown in the activity at the bottom of the chart, but without an attendance recorded. If you wanted to pick out a particular item in the chart at the bottom, You can click on it and it will highlight or limit the data to that particular activity. Click on it again to remove the selection. You can also click on the top half to identify the row in the table at the bottom. Again, click on it to deselect. The final dashboard is slot availability, and it's looking at the number rather than duration of slots created in iAptus, with a total bar on the left and a timeline. You can break the bars down by various dimensions, but the default opens on the time from slot creation date to the slot date. You can change the legend to a period which suits your service by clicking on the Filters button and editing the slot availability periods. Please remember the blue buttons at the top right of the dashboards are here to help you. We have an information button, a demo video button, and a help guide button to bring up an overlay of useful hints. The information button will identify any filters which have been applied behind the scenes that you don't have access to, or any special calculations. You will be able to access this video from the demo video button. And finally, should you wish to refer back to any of these tips, you can find a summary of this information in the help guide built into each of the dashboards. Simply toggle on and off the blue help guide button at the top right corner to see an overlay of helpful prompts. We are always looking for new ways to support your work, reduce the burden of administration, and deliver the best care to patients. If there are any new features you'd like to see added to this or to any other workbook, please contact us via support logs or iAptus Innovations, and we'd be more than happy to talk through the details with you. Thank you.